I was very struck, though, when we were covering the Trooping the Colour celebrations and particularly the march back along the Mall to Buckingham Palace, because it reminded me of when Her Majesty was riding Burmese and somebody in the crowd pulled a gun, but also not a million miles from that same location when the Princess Royal was in a car and they got hijacked and bumped in. These things can be brushed over, but when something like that happens, when there is an episode, do you guys all stop, pause, review the rules, or say, hey, thank God the rules worked?
Well, yes, and in both those instances, the Metropolitan Police and Royalty Protection learnt valuable lessons. But, I'm a historian now, and I do lecture on the history of attacks on our royal family, and it's a fascinating tale, which 99% of the public still have no idea. But I always say you need to know the lessons of history and translate them into the actions of today and tomorrow. And clearly, the Metropolitan Police, Royal Protection Command now, they've learned some of those lessons. And the two incidents you refer to, as a consequence, you have what we call backups, those officers that you see following or advancing. And that happens wherever they go now, because it's clearly important that you have a reserve capability that can tackle. The young man who tried to shoot Her Majesty on Trooping a Colour was a 17-year-old. Did you know he'd written to Buckingham Palace telling them he was going to do it? Unfortunately, it got delayed in the post. He was mentally ill, without a doubt. And that's one of the biggest risks that the Metropolitan Police and other forces throughout the country with today and indeed tomorrow will face, are those who are fixated. There is a specialist unit now who tries to figure out who, where and how. But it's not a science. It can happen, as we saw with protesters and indeed, the various terrorist groups. Go back to 2015, VJ Day. There were two plots to bomb Her Majesty then, which again, lessons have to be learned, and you apply them to your best ability.